Hey folks, Randy Newberg here. I want to talk to you about how you can hunt elk every year. And I know some of you say, oh Newberg, you always say that. Well, I'm here to show you on this whiteboard how you can hunt elk every year. And we need to do it in the context of following your short-term, your midterm, and your long-term plan. And I say, all right, 0 to 4 years is short-term, 5 to 9 years is midterm, 10 plus years, double digits is long-term. And if you're wondering how you can figure out where some of these hunts I'm going to talk about, where they fall in this column, go to goHUNT and sign up for the Insider and use their what we call filtering 2.0. It'll lay this out so easily that you'll be able to say, oh, Arizona has some of this and some of this and some of this. All you have to do is use those slider bars and all that filtering information, and you'll see that some states fit all 3 columns. Some states only fit 1 column. But you're doing all of this to build a short, mid, and long-term plan to get the most out of your money. This is a lot of money you're investing in this. Don't just randomly throw it around and throw it against the wall and hope, well, maybe I'll luck out. You know, if you're gonna do that, go down to the casino and play roulette or something. If you wanna throw money away, send it to me. But don't throw your money away. Do this. Figure out what states appeal to you. Figure out what your short and mid and long-term plans are. And then when we're all done, I'm gonna show you some hunts you can hunt every year. And here's the value of hunting every year. Let's say you don't live in an elk state. I'm lucky I live in Montana. So you're waiting, all of a sudden, it's 14 years and you finally draw some premium hunt somewhere. Well, you missed 13 years of building your elk knowledge. So go elk hunting every year. That for me, I don't care if they're hard hunts, if they're easy hunts, if there's low success. Every hunt I go on, I learn something. And this commitment to being an elk hunter is a lifetime commitment. It's not something you do for a weekend every 3rd year. Elk hunting is saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm gonna do it every year. So let's walk through some of these options. You're gonna see my chicken scratch here, and if you can't follow it, the good part is I put together a little graphic, a little chart that as we're doing this, you'll be able to actually read the writing because it's from the computer. So we're gonna start in blue with the opportunities. So Arizona, and I'm doing these alphabetically. It's not because I prefer one over the other. People say, where do you prefer to elk hunt? I say, yeah, it's wherever I have a tag. So short-term, people say, what? Arizona has some short-term hunt options? Yep, they're called limited opportunity hunts, and they're called late archery. If you go out to the Insider and you start looking at the draw odds and the filtering, you're gonna find some Arizona hunts. I mean, obviously, it's not like a Unit 10 early rifle hunt, okay? But you can still go. And you've already made the investment in the non-resident license. There are opportunities for you. Midterm, 5 to 9 years, these are late rifle hunts for the most part. And some late archery hunts. And when I say late archery, these are the archery hunts that they instituted probably 4 or 5 years ago. That you're hunting them in November with a bow. But the success rates are actually quite high. Those right there are some options. And in most instances, the more points you burn, the more of, I would say, quality experience, or at least quality of a hunt you're gonna have. So then you've got the stuff that if Arizona is your long-term plan, you've got early rifle, early muzzleloader, and probably the early archery, because we all love to hunt bugling bull elk. And in Arizona, you really want to go do that if you can pull it off. And there's strategy to Arizona because they look at 2 choices. And if you go read the strategy article that they've done about how to use your two choices. For Arizona, you could make one choice this and another choice this. So I'm gonna simplify all this and not get into the nuances of every state. But I use Arizona as an example to let you know that there's a lot more to this than just saying which column. There's a whole lot of strategy that can go into this. So, Colorado, one of my favorite places to hunt elk. Short term, over the counter. The second and third rifle hunts in Colorado are for non-residents in, I think it's 90 some units, are over the counter. You go there and you buy your tag and you go hunting. So that's really short term. There are a lot of hunts that are first rifle, fourth rifle. So there's a lot of limited entry rifle hunts. Same with muzzleloader and a lot of the archery hunts can be drawn with 4 points or less. In 2020, I burned 3 points on a first rifle hunt that really only took 2. But I'm out there looking at the insider, I'm like, I could draw that first rifle hunt. Oh, and the dates are this, that fits for my calendar. I went. I will be hunting Colorado every 2 to 3 years on a first rifle hunt because it's part of my short-term strategy. And if for some reason I have a gap in my calendar, I think I've went and done over the counter in Colorado 5 times. Go do it. Then we look at these midterm hunts. Now in Colorado, there's a lot of times where you can do a limited entry, whether it's some of the archery, some of the muzzleloader, some of the rifle. There are some of those that you can do with 5 to 9 points. The thing I would tell you is going from here to here usually isn't worth waiting twice as long or 3 times as long. So I don't really have Colorado as a mid-term strategy. I would rather go multiple times and use it as a short-term strategy. Now, if you've really been in the system for a long time and you're like me, at one time I had 19 points here in Colorado. I don't know what I was thinking. How did I end up with 19 points? It was really stupid. So if you go up to northwest Colorado, those units way up there, 210, 201, those are going to take a lot of points, more than 20 points. And then there's also some other units, and these are no secret. Everybody knows these. Unit 61, Unit 76, and there's a few more. And those are going to take double-digit points. That's part of your long-term strategy in Colorado. The downside about Colorado is there are so many people in the system. They've had this system in place for over 30 years now. When you look at how many people are ahead of you in this double-digit point pile, you might just say, let's go here. But Colorado can be a long-term strategy. It's not my recommendation to make it long-term. So let's go to Idaho. So there's been some changes in Idaho, but there's still a lot of tags on a first come, first served basis. So I'm just gonna call those general tags. A lot of people say, oh, they're over the counter or they're zone tags or, whatever term you want to put on it. But it's a first come, first serve. And December 1st, you want to be on the ball. There's also some, in Idaho, they call them controlled hunts. Every other state that I'm aware of, or most states, call them limited entry. So there's some controlled hunts that have pretty high draw odds. And if you go to the insider, you'll see where those draw odds are. And then there's also some hunts that, since there's no point system in Idaho, you don't know whether you're gonna draw this, in 5 to 9 years. It's just a matter of what your percentages are. So I'm gonna say that you still have Idaho, if you lower your expectations, you can still use Idaho as a midterm strategy. But without a point system, it's more of a, all right, this unit has 15% draw odds. That means about once every 7 years I should draw. Doesn't mean you will, but you should. And then they have some really great hunts in their controlled hunts that the odds are 2-3%. Well, your odds of drawing that are about once every 20 years, 30 years. So no point system, so it's a little bit harder to do the planning this way, but based on what hunt you apply for, you can kind of put yourself within a bracket of possibilities. Montana, this is my home state. We give away 17,000 general tags. And right now it's taken anywhere from 0 to 1 preference points to draw that general tag. Now, there's also return tags in Montana. So if you get on the return list, when some people draw and they can't make it, they turn their tag back in, and those get reallocated. So Montana definitely can be on your short-term list. There's also some limited entry archery tags that even as a non-resident will fall on this list. And those are mostly central and eastern Montana. And then we have some limited entry rifle tags in Montana that are gonna take a long time. But maybe you'll get lucky because Montana has a bonus point system. Again, with bonus point systems or no point system, none of these are guaranteed. It's just putting a strategy together based on probability. Nevada. This one's hard to, I can't find anything in Nevada that fits in the short-term column. I can't find anything in Nevada that fits in the midterm column. Nevada, any elk hunt you're looking for as a non-resident with pretty much any weapon type is going to be a long-term strategy. Just how it is for non-residents. But having drawn elk in Nevada, trust me, when your lucky number comes up, you're gonna have a great hunt. New Mexico, again, somewhat like Idaho, because there is no point system, New Mexico, you're gonna have a few challenges of how do I know one is short, mid, and long term. Short term in New Mexico, there aren't a lot, but there are some late archery hunts. There are also a few muzzleloader and rifle hunts in what I will say are some somewhat marginal units, like the fringe of their elk habitat. Almost to the point where it's like, I'm not sure if I even want to put that in the short-term column. But if you wanted to, you could do that. Now midterm, again, there are some mid-range, whether it's archery, muzzleloader, or rifle. Based on season dates and based on the unit type, some of those, the probabilities, are going to fall between the 5 and 9 years category. Most of New Mexico, like the Gila, and I don't care what weapon type you're talking about, unit 13, 15, 17, and again, none of this is a secret, right? If you look at draw odds in New Mexico, you're gonna see what units are the tough units to draw. And those are all long-term, 34, 36, 55. I'm probably missing a few. New Mexico, without a point system, a lot of that is going to be very long-term. I try to, I put those, look at that. I put that in the Nevada column, because Nevada didn't have any short or midterm. This is how an accountant does this, okay? Cut me some slack now. So, right here, these ones are the high demand in New Mexico. And with us only getting 6% of the tags as self-guided non-residents, these end up being very hard tags to draw. Now you can improve your draw odds in New Mexico by saying, all right, I'm gonna do the first archery hunt, which is usually September 1st through the 14th, instead of the second archery hunt. Or I'm gonna do the last muzzleloader or the last rifle hunt on the unit, because those are way late in the season. The elk are pretty hard to find because they're augured into some deep canyon or something. So there's things you can do to move your strategy from one column to the other, either from here to here or from here to here. Utah is a lot like Nevada for non-residents. Now, as quick as I say it's like Nevada, some people are gonna say, wait, we have some over-the-counter tags in Utah, and we have some spike-only tags and stuff. Okay, we'll put that in that column. But usually if I'm going over the counter, I'm looking at Montana, well, Colorado over the counter, but for short term, I'm looking at Idaho, Montana, and you'll see when I talk about Wyoming rather than Utah. There's not much in the midterm column, but I think this year with some of the new hunts they're putting there, we don't know yet. This is the first year for non-residents. This is, they call them HAMS hunts. I think that's handgun, archery, muzzleloader season. I don't know what that stands for. Anyhow, these are short range weapons, no optics allowed on your fire. Oh, this is shotgun. Yeah, handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun. I've never shot an elk with a 12 gauge slug, but it seems like it'd be pretty cool. But I think because of these being in really marginal units, really tough hunt, and the restrictions on what weapon you can use, these are probably gonna fall in this midterm column. And then in Utah, for non-residents, pretty much everything else ends up over here. Every elk hunt is going to be double digits. Now, we know that half of their tags get allocated based on the person with the most points, and the other half go into a bonus point draw. So you can beat the odds every once in a while. I drew one of these with 4 points, which don't count on that. That's just luck. So, Wyoming. Gotta love Wyoming. Wyoming gives you options in every column here. Quality options. A lot of people ask me if I only have so many states to apply in, what would be your first two that you'd apply in as a non-resident? Wyoming, Arizona. If those had to be my only two, those are the two. And the reason why is you look, there's great options in a short-term plan, great options in a midterm plan, and great options in a long-term plan. And you're gonna see Wyoming has the same characteristics. The general tag in Wyoming depends on if you apply in the limited or the special draw or the regular draw. This is anywhere from 1 point to 3 points. So you're going every other year, every third year, something like that. There's also a bunch of limited entry hunts that only take 1 or 2 points, depending on which part of the draw that you go into. I've hunted some of those, and there's some pretty darn good hunts. And then you can look at the draw results, pretty much predictable. I mean, there's always years where it flops and moves around, but here you have a lot of limited entry hunts that you will draw with 5 to 9 points in either of the draws, whether the regular draw or the special draw. And these are hunts that maybe they're not the greatest season dates, or maybe they're not in the premium units. What comes to mind here is a lot of these are hunts in the Bighorn Mountain. A lot of these are hunts in central Wyoming. Some of the hunts over in the western part of Wyoming that maybe aren't the core, I mean the absolute really good elk units, but they're still pretty darn good. And then, if you look at the draw odds, you're gonna see that there's a ton of limited entry tags in Wyoming that take double-digit points. Regardless, I mean, both the regular and special draw have a lot of high-quality hunts where it's gonna take maximum points or one less than maximum. So Wyoming gives you all of these options. They have great elk herds, they have lots of public land. That's why when you're building this short, mid, and long-term strategy, Wyoming and Arizona are my first starting points. So now, since I told you you can hunt elk every year, where are you going elk hunting every year? Of all the things I've put on this map. Because I always preach that the best thing about going elk hunting every year is you're continuing to learn about elk hunting. I make so many mistakes when I'm out elk hunting. I mess up so many situations. I end up with so many tags that go unfilled, and every one of them are a learning experience. So I think you can, if you want to go this year, and one of your short-term strategies don't come together, there's always over-the-counter in Colorado. In Montana, you can draw this general tag right now just about every other year. Sometimes, there's some people who, when they get on the leftover list or the return tag list, they're gonna draw that tag 2 out of 3 years or 3 out of 4 years. The beauty of the Montana tag is the general units are the majority of Montana. And the sweet spot of elk hunting is in the western and southwestern part of the state. And those are mostly general units. And we have really long seasons. You can come for 6 weeks of archery, and if you don't fill your tag, you can come back for 5 weeks of rifle. So you can get a lot out of that tag. I think in Wyoming, now this depends on, if you're going in the special draw, you would draw every other year just about. In the regular draw, the lower price draw, you're probably gonna draw every 3rd year. So you look at how you can stagger some of these, and then if you're really lucky and you can get on the phone and get early in the queue in Idaho, you know this December 1st. So this is kind of the, right out of the gate, the very first one you would try. And Colorado is your safety net that after all of these draws are done, you can still go do this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, really good options. And if you have friends or some insider information in Utah, that's a possibility also. So the idea is go elk hunting every year, but do it in a way that fits with your short, mid, and long-term strategies, and make sure you get the most out of this investment you're making. An investment of your money and an investment of your time. And everything that I've put here, you can find out on goHUNT's Insider, whether it's the strategy articles, which they go through every state. I mean, pages and pages, and a lot of really good illustrations that show you how this stuff works. And then you can look at last year's draw odds, actually 5 prior years of draw odds, to see, well, the hunt I'm looking at, is that probably gonna fall in this category, or this category? So, Filtering 2.0 allows you to do a whole lot of this. That's how you go elk hunting every year. Go do it.